Welcome to MegaBucks Radio. Conversations with successful entrepreneurs, sharing their tips and strategies for success. Real-world ideas that can put MegaBucks in your bank account. Here's your host, Nina Hirschberger.
Well, welcome to today's show. My guest today is Alan Porter, and Alan is a Certified Financial Fiduciary. Now, I'm going to ask him what all that means, because we laughed before we got on the show today that there seems to be all sorts of different things floating around, and I certainly don't understand it. But what he has to share with you today is critically important. You know, as interest rates are going up, as we're facing the possibility of a recession and other kinds of things, understanding these financial things is incredibly important. So, first of all, let me welcome you, Alan, to today's show.
Well, thank you very much, Nina. I'm very, very excited to be talking to you today on your podcast, and I want to put out some information I think people are not aware of.
Well, I need to also say that you spent 21 years in the Army as a Black Hawk instructor pilot. I mean, that must have been, were you the whole 21 years? Did you, let's go back in time. I want to hear that story too.
Well, I started off, I had a 13 draft number back in 1972, and a recruiter told me that he could keep me out of Vietnam. And back then they'd say anything to keep you out of Vietnam. He says, but you got to go combat arms. And I said, oh, okay, right. He said, no, they just took the 4th Infantry Division out of Vietnam and put them in Fort Carson, Colorado. And I'm originally from Nebraska, and I had never been out of state before. I was 18 years old, and I became a tank commander for my first 3 years there. And I finished up my tank experience at Fort Carson, Colorado, and I saw helicopters flying all the time, and I said, I want to fly a helicopter. So I put in for flight school, and 6 months later down at Fort Rucker, Alabama, I became a chief warrant officer. And for the next 17, 18 years, I flew helicopters. It was great. One of the biggest things that happened to me, I was part of the United States helicopter team. We won the World Helicopter Championships in 1981. We beat the Russians. They've never been beat before. It was a very, very exciting time, a high point in my career. But I tell people I ended up being the Black Hawk SIP for 18th Airborne Corps, and I tell people I had a safe landing for every takeoff, and I dodged all the bullets. And I had a great career. But after that career was over, and I had a passion for flying. I had a passion for serving my country. But after that career was over, I got my real estate license. I sold that for a year and didn't like that. And then I went to the mortgage business. I had my own mortgage firm. And I never had a passion for doing anything until I became a financial advisor back in 2011. But I had some tragic things happen to me, Nina. My son, 3 years before that, became totally disabled. This was 2009. He'd been disabled for 3 years, still not getting his disability. And only after we hired an attorney did he get his disability in the summer of 2010. Well, they live in Little Rock, Arkansas. I live in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They had 2 little girls, Lauren and Taylor. They were 7 and 4 at the time. And we went out there for Christmas, and everything was fine except Todd's disabled and not making any money. But January 5th, 2010, I got one of the most shocking phone calls of my life. My daughter-in-law, Lynn, age 39, called me and said, Alan, I've been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and they've given me 6 months to live. Of course, this put a huge shockwave through our family. But I was like 99% of the people out there that thought life insurance was a death product, that you had to die to benefit from it. Well, Nina, the stuff that I've learned since that day has changed my entire life and given me the passion for what I do right now. If it had not been for the terminal illness rider on Lynn's insurance policy to let her access up to 90% of that death benefit within 1 year of diagnosis completely tax-free, my son would be bankrupt, and it took a huge financial strain off of me. And so I started studying insurance and insurance products. And what I found out, insurance products have the best, in my opinion, tax code approved, tax-free retirement system available today, bar none. That in certain cases you can get a tax deduction for your contributions. It grows tax deferred like a qualified plan. You get tax-free distribution, which is absolutely huge, especially with taxes going up. And this is something people don't understand, Nina. It is, it does not affect the taxation of Social Security or the means testing for Medicare Part B, which can be over thousands of dollars per year in retirement when you need your money the most. And something that is very dear and dear to my heart is long-term care options. People think long-term care is never going to happen to them. Well, I got news for you. 70% of all Americans are going to need long-term care at some point in their life. And right now it costs between $50,000 to $200,000 a year, and it goes up every year. 40% of people on long-term care are between the age of 18 and 64. And this is an age lab study by Dr. Pecorsi at MIT University. If you're married at age 65, there is a 75% chance of you or your spouse contacting Alzheimer's, dementia, or Parkinson's. And I know this for a fact, as I had to be called back this spring for my brother. The state patrol called his daughter up. He said, "You need to come pick up your father. He's completely disordered, doesn't know what he's doing." They picked him up going down the interstate the wrong way against traffic. He's so lucky he didn't kill himself and a family. But I had to put him in a nursing home. And that's one of the hardest things, people, to put your loved ones in a nursing home. They don't want to go, for sure. But I've learned so much when I started studying about insurance products. The benefits that insurance products have, there's nothing to compare with them. There's no financial product out there that gives you the benefits of cash value life insurance or gives you the benefits or a fixed annuity with guaranteed income. I don't care if your annuity runs out of money, you're still going to have guaranteed income for the rest of your life. Nina, I can go on and on about this.
Yeah, I can feel the passion, and that's fantastic. In fact, you talk about long-term care insurance. My mother is in assisted living, so those numbers you're quoting are spot on. And of course, she didn't want to go, and all sorts of things. So I do know that a lot of financial planners. So first of all, let's go back to when I first started. I asked questions about the different titles different financial planners have. Tell me what a certified financial fiduciary is as opposed to somebody else. What makes you different?
Well, here's something that I used to just have my insurance license, but now I'm a registered investment advisor, which I'll explain in a minute. But these people that work for Edward Jones and Goldman Sachs and everything, they do a stocks and bond portfolio, and they call themselves fiduciaries, where they look out for the best interest of the clients. Or a bank is a fiduciary, is supposed to be looking out for the best interest of the clients. Well, I find that very hard to believe when you're not aware and educated on all the financial products out there. These people that work for fee-based management, such as Edward Jones, I'm not saying they're bad, but they get paid a fee to manage your portfolio whether you make money or not. And some of them don't recommend these products because they're not educated on them. And that's one of the greatest things about being a fiduciary. When I learned because I took the course to become a certified financial fiduciary, if you're not looking out for the best client's interest, they can sue you. And, when I ask people, I said, okay, let me ask you a question. Your financial provider said, do not do this life insurance policy. Keep your money in the stock portfolio. I just ask them, are they looking out for your best interest or the best interest of themselves and the company they work for? And it's very, very black and white, because you've got to look out for the best interest of your clients to be called a fiduciary. And I've taken the courses and passed the test to become a certified financial fiduciary. Now, Nina, the other thing that I do, I'm a registered investment advisor. What that means is I can do a stock and bond portfolio if I want to. I used to, but I don't do that anymore. I have a team of people that I work with that if a client wants a stock portfolio, I could refer them to part of my people on my team, and they could do that. But I have real heartburn with having a client that loses money and charging them a fee for managing that money. So that's why I don't do that anymore. But I have a team of people. I work my business just like a doctor. I'll ask question after question. I expect questions to be answered, because if I were to come up with some type of feasibility study or financial plan without these questions answered, it would be malpractice. And the other thing, too, is, I tell people, they always tell me, well, Alan, I've got advisors that handle all my CPA, my financial advisor, and my attorney handle all my tax and financial advice. I said, let me ask you this question. When is the last time your your CPA, your financial advisor, or your attorney ever give you any proactive advice on saving taxes? In my experience, it's been slim to none. But here's the other thing. I said, listen, I'm not here to replace your advisor. I want to work with them as a team to give you, the client, the best possible scenario. And I have but one thing to say. I said, you may have the best advisors in the world, but it's what they don't know that's going to end up costing you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in undue taxes, fees, and lost opportunity costs. And they said, well, what do you mean by lost opportunity costs? I said, well, as an example, how would you like to have a retirement plan that's paid for by the government? That's a tax deduction. Well, how's that possible? That's lost opportunity costs, and I show you how to do that because I work with top CPAs, tax-specific and attorneys, and other specialists in their fields to give you, the client, the best possible financial scenario. We create solutions for people's problems. And I'm very, very, like I said, I'm very, very passionate about what I do because I think people have been led astray by the 60-40 split between stocks and bonds and the Wall Street information they get from the financial magazines, the newscasts and everything, because people are not educated on this stuff, and they need to be. Some of this stuff, Nina, should be taught in high school. And I know doctors with economic degrees that know nothing about what I talk about. And I would say probably 95% of all CPAs, attorneys, and financial planners have no idea what I'm talking about.
Okay, so let's get into specifics then. You talk about it being an insurance product. Talk specifics.
Well, all insurance products are great because they benefit the family, they protect the family. That's my number one goal, both professionally and personally, is protection of the family and protection of their assets. Now, if you've got a cash value life insurance policy, which is a index universal life or a whole life policy that I promote and recommend a lot, is first off, you can set it up. Now, I asked people, I said, would you rather spend $1,000 a year or $10,000 a year for $500,000 death benefit? Well, they all come back to me and they said, well, Alan, I would spend $1,000. I said, I understand that. But that's set up by the actuaries of the insurance company. And the only thing that you're going to get is term life insurance. And if you live one day past term life, the life expectancy, there's no cash value in term life insurance. Now, the other thing, too, you may have spent as much money in this term life insurance because it goes up as you get older, as you did this cash value life insurance policy, basically the same amount. But when you go to reach life expectancy, this death benefit instead of $500,000 could be $1.5 million, and you've got $800,000 or $900,000 in your cash value that you become your own bank. I said, what's really crazy, now the actuaries set the bottom limit for insurance, but there used to be no top limit up until the 1980s, late 1980s. And the wealthy, the people who knew the tax laws, would contribute, as an example, I'm over-exaggerating, but they put $1 million in a $500,000 death benefit insurance policy. And, of course, they don't need that $1 million, but that money, that excess money would grow tax-deferred, and they get all their distributions tax-free. Well, the government says we're losing too much revenue, so they put a line, and if you put any more than what the government allows, it's called a modified endowment contract, and you lose all your tax advantages. And the tax advantages are absolutely huge. And one of the things I tell people, I said, why do you contribute to a 401k? They said, well, it's a tax deduction. I said, no, it's not a tax deduction. It's a tax compounder. I said, we're at the lowest tax rates we've ever been in 70 years. And I just read a Congressional Budget Office report last month that by 2030, taxes are going to have to increase over, I think, 66% just to pay the debt pay the interest on our debt. We've got over a $31 trillion deficit. But I said, it's a tax compounder. I said, let me ask you a question. What do you think the government wants you to do? Pay taxes on the seed, the small amount, or the harvest, the large amount? Well, of course they want to pay you at the harvest, and they want to pay you at a rate that they're going to expect you to pay later on down the road. It's not set right now. It's set later on down the road, and you've got government risk. They can raise taxes anytime they want to. And with a $31 trillion deficit and growing, what do you think they're going to do? They can't cut the benefits. They keep adding more benefits. They're going to increase the taxes. Do you realize taxes at during World War II were 94% for the highest tax bracket? I mean, that's unbelievable. But here's the other thing. They grow tax deferred. Insurance, cash value life insurance policies grow tax deferred, just like a qualified plan, a 401k, 403b, or something like that. But you get tax free distribution. You don't get that with a stock portfolio or a 401k plan. Now, with a Roth, you do. But here's the thing: it also does not affect taxation of Social Security. And then I've had people tell me, well, Alan, a municipal bond or an educational bond is tax-free. I said, not if you live in a state other than where those bonds are initiated. Then you'll have state tax to pay, and if your state is large enough, you have e-state taxes to pay. And they both affect the taxation of Social Security and the means testing for Medicare Part B. Now, this is absolutely huge. Now, the Roth product, the 401k and the IRA, they do not have required minimum distribution. Now, with the Secure Act that's taking effect probably tomorrow, they're going to move some required minimum distributions up to 73. Right now, they're at 72, and before they were 70.5. Do you know what required minimum distributions are, Nina?
No. Well, yeah, you have to have so much coming in from your
plans. When you go to take money out, let's say 7.5, if you did not take the amount of money the government requires you to take, it used to be a 50% penalty plus all taxes. Now with the new Secure Act Q, it's going down to 25% plus all taxes. But this is information that people do not know. I've had 65-year-olds have no idea what a required minimum distribution is. And when I told him, his eyes got like a deer in headlights. It just got huge. He said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "You're going to pay the taxes on it now and make it Roth IRA." So that's what he ended up doing. But here's the thing. Here's a short Reader's Digest version. If you're married and age 65 and you make more than $44,000 a year of outside provisional income at today's tax rates, which is a stock portfolio, a rent, a pension or something like that, and you make $3,000 a month in Social Security, 85% of your Social Security is going to be taxed. Now, that puts you in the 12% minimum tax bracket. I think it's 10.16 effective tax bracket because we have a progressive tax system. You're writing a check to Uncle Sam for over $6,000 every year for the rest of your life, provided taxes don't go up. Now, here's something that people don't know. Many people in the 12% minimum tax bracket right now, January 1st, 2026, are going to go to the 25% tax bracket. That's if nothing else changes. And people don't know this. Their CPA doesn't tell them. Their financial planner doesn't tell them. But
so, Alan, do you think they don't tell them because what you said a few minutes ago, they haven't done the research like you've done? Because you work with fixed indexed annuities. Explain that.
Well, they don't know this stuff because to tell you the truth, I don't think they know. It's all about education. But a fixed indexed annuity, as an example, I've got people tell me they're too expensive, too complicated. I've got a fixed indexed annuity right now that's done with a mutual company that's a nationally known company. Right now, that gives you a 20% bonus on any. Let's say you contribute $100,000. They're going to give you a 20% bonus, so your income value is based on $120,000. It also gives you a guarantee of 8% simple compounding a year for 10 years in a row. What stock portfolio is going to do that? Give you a bonus and guarantee you interest rates? None of them. Here's something I did a podcast with another company that I work with. Let's say that you have $1 million in a stock portfolio, and you get a 6% net return on a 5-year period. That's net after fees. That's percent or 1.5%. So if it was 1.5%, you'd have to make 7.5% average every year for 5 years in a row. So there's $1 million stock portfolio with a 6% net return. That stock portfolio now makes $1,388,000 and some dollars. All right. At a 4% distribution rate, that used to be the go-to distribution rate that would give me a 90% chance to last until age 90. Well, that's gone down. It's usually about a 25 to 35% chance of that happening. Now it's down to 2.8%. Do you realize that you'd only have to have 2/3 of the income in a fixed indexed annuity to give you the same distribution rate as in a 4%, a $1 million stock or any stock portfolio? As an example, that stock portfolio in the 6th year at a 4% distribution rate, that's going to give you around $53,000 and some dollars. If you did this annuity that I promote, and several annuities, a fixed index annuity, that's not $50-some thousand. This is with no growth, only the guarantees the insurance company has. That income and now is $81,989 a year, and that's guaranteed for the rest of your life, even if your annuity runs out of money. And people ask me, how?
Let me see if I can interpret what I'm hearing you say. So let's say somebody has $1 million stock portfolio that is managed by their financial planner.
Correct.
Let's say they're 70 and a half in the past, so they had to start taking distributions.
Right.
And so they're going to get taxed on those distributions. Well,
correct.
What you're saying is a fixed index annuity is a better option if you, I'm not sure am I going to say this right, if you take the hit, let's say on that $1 million portfolio, I don't know if you would say take the hit on the whole thing and turn it and roll it over into a fixed index annuity, you're going to have a tax burden on that when you do that. But if you do that, it's turning it into almost like a Roth IRA as far as you're going to get the distributions.
Right.
Am I saying? Am I catching it?
Because here's something that I've just done with a client last month. They had, let's just say they had $1 million. Actually, they had $750,000. But let's say they had $1 million at a 4% distribution rate. That's $40,000 a year on $1 million. They'd only have to have approximately $650,000 to give in the same guaranteed $40,000 a year, and that's guaranteed for life with the annuities, not guaranteed with the stock portfolio. So that means they have another $350,000 that they can pay taxes and turn that $40,000 into a Roth fixed index annuity that they don't have to pay taxes on anymore, and they don't have to pay taxes on Social Security, the means testing, Medicare Part B. I mean,
so what you're saying is this actually turns into a Roth? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
What's that?
Does it actually turn into a Roth? The fixed index?
Yeah, I turn it into a Roth.
Okay.
With that, because that's $350,000 extra.
Yeah.
But here's something else I do. I mean, this is just financial planning that people don't know about, and I've got a team of people I work with. Let's say that this particular person had $350,000 left out of $750,000. We did $500,000 we did $750,000 in annuities, but she got $300,000 from a sale of a net after taxes of her mom's home, and she wanted to borrow $50,000 from that and get some improvements on the home. And I said, what are you going to do with the rest of the money? Well, we're not sure. We should invest it or whatever. I said, we'll do this. Take that $300,000, and buy a single premium life insurance policy. Now, she's 66 years old. Now she's going to get insurance of approximately $700,000. Now, I showed her how to make money work for her both ways. She can take that money from that life insurance policy because the cash is available to her immediately up to 90%. And then the third year, the whole 100% of that $300,000 is available. But she takes $50,000 out, does the home improvements. We take another, I think it was $176,000 or whatever, and paid, let's say altogether between paying the taxes on the conversion to a Roth and that $50,000 is $250,000. Now, people need to understand this is a non-retention guarantee from the insurance company. They've taken $200,000 out of that $300,000, okay? They're still paid premiums. They're still paid dividends on the original $300,000 that they purchased that life insurance policy for. They're making money on money they don't even have anymore. And on top of that, that $700,000 death benefit, they can use for long-term care, which is tax-free up to 90% of that, or legacy for their family. So they've used $200,000. They've got a death benefit for $700,000. Now they don't have to pay that loan back if they don't want to. It just comes off the death benefit. People don't understand this, and they need to be educated. I show people how to get out of debt Everybody heard of Dave Ramsey? He wants to change your life.
Yeah.
$22 million building by charging people how to get out of debt. I think his course costs like $3,500. But I teach people about effective interest rates. And one of the things that I ask people, I said, what's your interest rate on your mortgage? That particular case of mine. This guy wanted to do a tax-free retirement. He retired from the military. He's a friend of mine. And he says, I'm retired next month, Alan. I'm only 42 years old. I want to do your Index Universal Life policy for tax-free retirement. I said, what kind of bills you have? He says, Alan, he says, I got a new house. We just did a loan 6 months ago. I said, what's the interest rate on your mortgage? He said, 2.75. I said, what's your effective interest rate? He says, well, I don't know what you mean. I said, well, that's fine, because 99% of the people I talk to don't know what it is either. I said, I want you to fill out this report for me, send it back to me. We'll have a Zoom conference next week. So he fills it out, and he had pretty good interest rates all along. But I said, he had $469,000 in debt, I think. I said, this $469,000 is not your problem. Here's your problem over here. His effective interest rate on his mortgage was 49.6%. He says, how's that possible? I said, because that mortgage is not going to get down to that 2.75 until the last couple months of the mortgage. But here's what's worse. Between your 9 bills, even though you have a good credit rating, good interest rates, your effective interest rates you're paying is over 46%. So what that means is for every dollar that you pay, 46% of that dollar, 46 cents of that dollar is going to pay compound interest for some financial institution and not yourself. So I said, how would you like to have compound interest compounding for you instead of the financial institutions? Well, yeah, great. That'd be great. I said, well, here's a question for you. I said, Dave Ramsey, I agree with about 50% of what he says, but the rest of it, it is not good advice. Buy term and invest difference is the absolute worst scenario or worst advice I've ever heard of. But here's the thing. What I do is I set up a specially designed insurance contract, a SDIC. And he always says, if you got extra money, put it towards the highest credit card, whatever, and then pay that down. And this is the snowball effect that Dave Ramsey uses. Let's say you have a credit card, a student loan, and a car payment. Okay, you make the minimum payments on all of them. You got $500 extra, so you take that $500 plus the minimum payments you're making on your credit card, and you pay that off first. And when that's paid off, you take the $500 plus the payment on the credit cards and the minimum payment on your student loans, pay that off, and you do the same until the car's paid off. So what I do is I set up a SDIC, a specially designed insurance contract, to where that money, that $500 extra, you still make your minimum payments. That $500 extra is put into a life insurance policy, and when that cash value builds up, you're going to get a text on your phone. It says it's time to pay off this bill, this credit card. And when that's done, you take that, you keep paying yourself that $500, but you take that minimum payment that you were paying the other financial company, and you pay yourself back in your life insurance policy. And when that balance gets up to enough to pay off that student loan, you're going to get a text on your phone to pay off that student loan. And the same goes. And when it comes down to that car payment, you're going to get a text on your phone to where it's time to take a loan out and pay yourself back. And because, Einstein says compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Those people who understand it will benefit from it. Those people who don't are going to pay it. And guess what, Nina? 99% of American people are paying it. But what I show people is how to pay yourself compound interest and not the financial institutions. I show people how to become their own bank. And in short, this guy, he had a plan to get out of debt in 22 years. He was paying extra on his mortgage and everything. I said, how would you like to be out of debt in 10 years and have $139,000 in the cash value, tax-free value of your life insurance policy and a $400,000 death benefit? Nina, it's a no-brainer. But people are not educated on this. I work with a group of advisors called Smart Advisor, and there's about 40 of us that do this SDIC, Special Design Insurance Contract. And we're going all over the United States because this is very, very important. Debt, as far as I'm concerned, is the number one problem we have in America. People live in paycheck to paycheck. And I can show them how to get out of debt. how to pay themselves compound interest instead of the financial institutions, and never have to borrow money from the bank again.
Wow, that's amazing. Wish I would have known that. Actually, we got out of debt in 4 years when we were young, but you're absolutely right. That would be good. Listen, Alan, I am looking at the clock, and we are almost out of time. I know you've got a book on Amazon. Is that the best thing for people to go if they want to learn more? I also want you to give your contact information.
Yeah, well, my book's on Amazon, but if you call me, my number's 910-551-1046. Again, that's 910-551-1046. Or you can email me at strategicwealth0@gmail.com. Now that's strategicwealth0@gmail.com. Again, that's strategicwealth0@gmail.com. You can notify me either way. I have websites for everything. I have a website for my financial planning. I also have a website for Debt Free for Life. It's called Debt Free for Life America. But you contact me. I've got books for both of them. I'll be gladly send them to you. And I want to educate people because I'm very, very passionate about what I do. I want to educate people on the financial advantages of the wealthy and the people that know the tax laws have been used against us for years. You know, one of the things that I've heard life insurance is not a good investment. I said, you can go to FDIC.gov and find every major asset of every major bank in the United States, and you'll have cash value life insurance as one of their top tier one assets. It's almost twice as much as real estate. I said, these people that work for banks are supposed to be the greatest financial minds in the world, and if they think cash value life insurance is the best thing for their tier one assets, don't you think you ought to have it part of your portfolio? I mean, there's so much stuff that people don't know that they need to be educated on. It will make their lives so much easier, and it makes it so much healthier because they don't have the stress of the stock market.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, Alan, thank you so much. This was very valuable information. I know there's going to be a lot of people that will be very interested. By the way, can you work with anybody around the country or only certain states?
No, right now, well, if they're in a state that I'm not licensed in, it just takes me a day to get my license. It may be a week or whatever, but I can work with anybody in the United States. Okay.
All right. Well, that is a wrap. This is Nina Hirschberger saying thank you again for listening, and go out and get a copy. Actually, why don't you give Alan a call? I'm going to say that phone number again. It is 910-551-1046. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to MegaBucks Radio with Nina Hirschberger. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or to listen to past episodes, visit MegaBucksRadio.com.